Test. Hey, can everybody hear me today? Today we're going to talk about some fans. Hopefully I'll be able to get the fans to work correctly. I'm going to show you how to prepare them and also hopefully how to test them. So I'm going to check on the chat in 2 seconds here. I just have to bring it up. So give me a second here. There we go. So can everybody hear me okay? Okay, well, I'm going to get started. Today we're going to talk about how to cool steppers with fans. Not a very hard concept. Basically, when your stepper starts to step, the fan should go on. So I'm going to use, I guess, the TMC 2209. I'll also set up sensorless homing for it, just so that we can test it out again. But it looks like the jumper's already in place. So let's get to it. So the first thing I need to do obviously is attach my stepper. So I'm doing this on the SKR version 1.4 Turbo. And I need to prepare my wires because I don't like the way they look right now. And I also need to figure out where to put them. So we could either use this one or we can use this one, which probably would be easier for now because I don't want to show you the ferrule for it. So I'm going to place this down and I'm going to find which pin it actually operates off. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go over to Big Tree Tech's site. So let me pair the browser here real quick. So we're going to search on GitHub BTT SKR 1.4, and that'll bring us to the GitHub page for it, hopefully. And it looks like it brought us directly there. So now we need to find the manual, and inside the manual, what we need to find are the pinouts. So I'm scrolling kind of fast here. I may have gone by it actually. Doesn't look like it's there. So that's not good. So let's go back. We'll go to hardware. And we'll look for something that has pin in it. So it looks like this is the pinouts. So what we're looking for is this pin right here, which is fan 0. So we're going to put the red side, I believe, well, red side says plus over here, so that's where that's going to go. So I'm going to go back over to the desktop so you can see what I'm doing. So the red wire is going to be voltage, and I'm going to place it in like so. Now I'll put this so that it won't move around in a second. I just have to get the screws out of it. So I'll do that in a second, or I'll just leave it. But it needs to be, I think this usually faces the surface, so I'm going to leave it there for now. And what'll happen is when the stepper moves, so we got to connect this up, this will go on. So I'm going to connect the power. It's unplugged at the moment, as you can see. So I use ferrule connections like I always say, and I'll put Amazon affiliate links in the description so that you can find these. And once again, no one's paying me or sponsoring me to do these tutorials, so see where that goes. So that's connected. Now I'm going to power it. So I'm going to connect the power. And I'm also going to connect the USB. Now it's set to direct power for the jumper over here. And I've talked about it so many times that I'm pretty sure you already know it. So I'm going to go over to VS Code in a second, but I'm going to check on the chat. Can everybody hear me okay? I hope so. Can't seem to see anybody's messages yet. So let me check on my sound. Well, my sound looks like it's working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in. Oh, switch to the camera? Sorry, hang on a second. Okay, sorry about that. So here's the camera. I'm actually going to disconnect the power because moving my hands around this is probably not wise. And as you can see, there's the red. I'm using the second one over here, and I'm plugging it in like so. So that's how we're going to actually be using the actual fan. And what I'll do is I'll lock the fan down on the table so it doesn't slide all over the place real quick here. Hopefully this won't interfere with the fan running too much. So now I'm going to plug this back in and actually set up the firmware. So I'm going to go over to VS Code. And inside VS Code, I'm going to go to Open, and I'm going to go to my Downloads folder, my Marlin folder, my second Marlin folder, and select the folder. So I'm going to go to the Marlin folder again, then Source, then Core, then boards.h, and I'm going to search on SKR 1.4. And it's not finding it, so I'm typing something incorrect. Whoop. Apparently you can't backspace today. So the one we're looking for is actually right here because it's a turbo. We're going to copy that, and remember that we're on LPC 1769. So I'm going to minimize that. I'm going to go to configuration.h. I'm going to search on motherboard. I'm going to paste it over the ramps. Then I'm going to go up and change the first serial port to -1. And I'm going to do a search on steppers. So I'm going to search for A4988. That'll bring us to the X stepper right here, which we need to enable. And then it's a TMC 2209. So I'm going to copy that, paste it over here. And then we're going to leave our default access steps per unit alone because we're not really interested in this information. So I do need to reverse or invert the direction. So I have to search on invert. And down here, we need to change the exter from false to true. And then it gets fun because now we have to go into the configuration.h. And we're going to search on, let's see, sensorless homing, because we don't feel like putting a end stop on. So sensorless. And here it is. So I'm going to remove the comment, and then I'm going to change this to 125. Now comes the fan part. So we need to search on use controller fan. So I'm going to search up here on use underscore controller underscore fan. And that brings us to this group right here. And there's various different settings. Unfortunately, we don't have the Z-axis connected right now, so we're just going to do the general one to start. So I'm going to remove the comment so we can enable it. And then we can have a minimum fan speed and then an active one. So I'm going to set this to 200 initially because I'm not sure how this is going to work out. And let me backspace here real quick. And the idle speed I'm unsure of, so we're just going to leave that for now. And what we'll do is we're not going to do editable because I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen with that. We just want to see if it goes on the moment we step. So we need to say where the custom fan pin is. And we actually did discover this a second ago. So I'm going to remove the comment. And I'm going to first go over to the browser so that we can see it. So inside the browser, as you can see, it says 2.3. So we need to find that in VS Code. So I'm going to go back to VS Code. And inside VS Code, we're going to go over to Source, Pins. Then we're going to find the chipset, which is LPC 1769. And we're going to go to the turbo. And right here, the turbo is somewhat confusing because there's nothing in it. And we need to know what those pins are. So we need to find the include. And so it looks like this is what the include will look like. So we're going to search through here. And obviously it's not here. So we'll go to the LPC 1768 and see if it's there. So it looks like there's one right here for pins. So let's see if we can find the actual fan pin. So it's 2.3. So there's going to be something about a fan down here, hopefully. or something. But I need to find out the exact nomenclature of it. So I'm going to do a search on fan because I'm not seeing it right away. And apparently I'm seeing nothing. So I'm going to search around a little bit more here. Oh, there's a BTT common. We need to find that next. So BTT common is here. And now we can try and search on fan again and see if we see anything. So here we go. Here's the pin we're looking for, which is P2_03. We're going to copy that. And then we're going to minimize and minimize so that we can go back to the advanced. And we're going to change this -1 to that value. So we're all set there. So now we can go to platformio.ini, and we have to change this to the LPC 1769 because that's our chipset that we're using for the SKR Pro, or excuse me, SKR 1.4 Turbo. So I'm going to compile this. It's probably going to fail the first time because I haven't cleaned, so I'll do a clean. And then I'll try and do an upload and see what happens. But no guarantees on the first build. So let's look through and see what's happening. It says something about the sanity check. So you cannot set fan controller pin equal to the fan controller pin. So I think what they're telling us is we can't set that value because it's already set. In this case, it's not a different pin. So we'll go back to the advanced config. We'll undo our change here. And we'll comment this out and hopefully it'll work. Otherwise, I've got some more research to do. So let's try upload again. And it looks like there's another error. So now I need to figure it out. It says LPC 1768. Now I may have typed something wrong. Or I didn't understand what the error is. So I'm going to cheat and I'm going to go over to it. I don't see anything that's normal. See what the sanity check says. Fine in. So let's go back to advanced. Let's paste it back in and remove the comment. Looks like I set it up right, but let's try build. And apparently I'm clueless, so I need to go over to platformio.ini, check that. And then I need to check my motherboard just to make sure I'm set right. So that looks right. So curious enough, I'm gonna have to uncomment that somehow, and hopefully this won't fail again. So let's try build and then a build and see what happens. So apparently it wants me to set a whole bunch of things here, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So let me go back and do some reading here. So maybe I've got the wrong place for the pin. That was -1. Comment it out. Minimum speed doesn't matter. Cool stepper drivers. That's super odd. So let me do a build, see it fail. Use fan control. Requires a fan control pin, which is this. Set up a custom pin for the fan. So maybe I've got the number wrong, which is a possibility. So it might be, oh. Might be that. But let's go back and look at the actual pins. This is slightly confusing for me because this used to work. So if we go to pins, LPC 1768, I don't want to look at that. Let me minimize some of this so I can see what I'm doing. Not worried about the hardware abstraction layer, we're worried about pins. So this pin in here, it's saying to include this, which is super odd. So let's go over and see what that is. So it's common. And let's see if there's a different fan pin. So heaters and fans. So what we could do is we could hook it up to the second hot end. That's another way around the problem. So I can show you that as a way to work around it. It should, in theory, work with that one. So let's try this and see if it fixes the problem first. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back over to the advanced configuration. I'm going to change this value. And let's see what happens. In theory, it might be different. So it appears to work. So there's something weird about the actual fan pin. Normally you can specify it to where I want it to. But in this case, there's something going on where it's reserved. So they may have changed something in the firmware. Let me see what the chat has to say. Yeah, default environment was fine. I think there was an issue with the way Marlin's changed their structure. You used to be able to say use this pin, and apparently I didn't see it, so now we'll figure that out. Hey Melbourne, how's it going? I'm guessing it's nice and warm there. Okay, so trying to figure out what's going on with this Russian website here. So let me see if I can. I don't know if I really want to become famous. How do I say that in Russian? Yanasnaya net. Anyways, let's go back to the build because I'm looking at the chat. Looks like it loaded, so I'll take you over to the actual desktop to see. So on the desktop, hang on a second, I gotta fix it. It likes to change on me. So there we go. We actually have the firmware. So I'm gonna power down both the direct power, which I'll show you on the workbench. So I'm gonna yank the power. Then I'm going to yank the power over here, and because we're using this power right here, which is number 1, I believe, we can verify that. Whoop, I'm sorry. I yanked the power, and I yanked the USB. So if we were to look at the actual pinouts, if they're correct, we're looking for this one over here as our alternate fan. So I need to plug in a different way to this. Unplug this, pull this for a second. And what I'll do is I'll use the actual other one and show you how to do a ferrule connecting, because right now that's not very good for safety reasons. So I'm going to pull out some ferrules. So here are the ferrules, here's the crimper. It's a really simple process. You take the ferrules out, hopefully I don't drop them all over the floor. I think you find the smallest size. So it's probably going to be these. And let me put the ferrules someplace where they won't fall quickly. And then we're going to take the wires. We're just going to spread them apart. And I'll show you on camera what I'm doing. Sorry, I didn't show you that initially. So here are the ferrule connectors. And here are the wires. So I'm going to take the ferrule. And I'm just going to slide it over the wire. Sorry, I got a big light in front of my face. So, and that's in position. Then I'm going to take the crimpers. Slide it slightly down, and then crimp, or at least in theory crimp. Apparently I'm locked somehow. Interesting. Guess I got to do it all the way open. So there we go. That's nice and taut. I'll do the other one. It's in position. I'll stick the crimper on. Crimp. Check to make sure it's pretty tight. And then get this equipment out of the way. Next, we need to take the screwdriver and hopefully connect this to the right one. So there's going to be a positive and a negative. So it's going to be red and black. So here. That's nice and strong in there. I'm going to do the same for here. That's nice and strong in there. So unfortunately it's not super long, but I need to figure out a way to lock this in place for you. Looks like it's 12 volts, which we're working with right now, so that's good. I'm going to put some putty over here to keep it from flying all over the place. Hopefully not clog up the fans. I'm going to power up the system. Hopefully we don't see any smoke. I'm going to power that up. And then we'll let it load for a second and we'll go over to Pronterface. So inside Pronterface, I'm going to click on Connect, but obviously I've got the wrong COM port, so I'll show you how to find that. So I'm going to go over to Device Manager. I'll bring it up so you can see it in a second. So inside Device Manager, you can see right here the COM ports. And so it's COM port 13 is what we're looking for. We'll go back over to Pronterface. Inside Pronterface, we'll change the 11 to a 13. And connect. So first thing we'll do, I'm going to move it 100 steps for the stepper over here. Let me bring the camera back on. And we'll see if the actual fan goes on. So watch the fan closely. So I'm going to move 100 steps. And the fan goes on. So at least we can operate the fan. Let's try motors off to see if it stops. So apparently it's not stopping. So we need to fix that as well. So I'm going to disconnect. And then I'm going to go over to VS Code. I'll check on the chat in 2 seconds. Yeah, is the camera running okay? Well, I just switched scenes, but hopefully it's better. So I'm going to go into VS Code and I'm going to go over to the fan configuration. And right here, there used to be something that would turn it off. So let's see what we've got. So this looks like it puts in the menu of your display, but it's running at 200. It just stopped, so I guess what I did is the idle time probably needs to change. I'm going to change that to 10 seconds. That seems reasonable. And then it says idle speed when using fan motor are disabled. So we'll do 5 seconds on that, because apparently I'm going to confuse these two. So if it stops in 5 seconds, we know which one it is. If it's 10 seconds, then we know it's the other. So that will reload. So I'm going to upload again. Hopefully I'm disconnected in Pronterface, which it looks like I am. So let me go check on the chat while this is building. Yeah, I'll bring up the actual camera view in a second. So it looks like the build completed in 18 seconds. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to show you, first of all, that we're going to verify that it actually built. So here's the folder for the USB drive on our SKR, and it looks like it did build. So I'm going to go over to the desktop or workbench. I'm going to disconnect the power. Give it a few seconds to discharge. Disconnect the USB. Reconnect the USB. Reconnect the power. This will load our firmware. And then we'll go back over to Pronterface. Hang on a second, I want to make sure Pronterface is working right. There we go. So inside Pronterface, we'll reconnect. And then I'm going to move this back. And then I'm going to move it 100 and see what happens. So the fan went on, kind of loud. And we're giving it 5 seconds first. So far it's not turned off. It hasn't turned off after 10 seconds so far. So my guess is that you have to say motor's off. So I'm going to click that. We'll give it 5 seconds. Now we'll give it 10 seconds. So it's between 5 and 10 seconds. I'm guessing it's 10 seconds. We can verify that. I'll show you how to do it. We'll disconnect. We'll go back over to VS Code. We'll transition there. And so I'm going to hit Control Z. And I'm going to turn off the idle. So it says controller fan idle speed. So apparently this is not timing. Sorry. This is timing. So one of these days I'll learn to read more carefully while I'm talking. So the Z-axis, we could actually test that to see if it works. All I have to do is move the configuration over. But maybe you have some questions that you want to ask, because obviously me talking about this is somewhat dry. Maybe there's something that you're interested in knowing about that I can actually show you tonight. So let me check on the chat and see what you have for questions. So does anybody have any questions that they want to see addressed tonight? Okay, where's everyone from tonight? I think there's one person that's from Russia, if it's not a bot. So, what is it? Privet, как dela? And then German is, what is it? Guten Abend? And then I'm guessing there's probably some French people in the room, so bonsoir, ça va? I'm not going to do the whole chat in a foreign language, though. And I know one person's from Australia. So what is it? Good day? What is it? I always mess this up. It's Dobra? You're going to have to help me. My Polish is horrible. Even though I'm half Polish. What's good evening in Polish? Okay, well, let's try something different. There's other fan configurations we can do. Apparently that one fan pin that I wanted to do was allocated for something else. It may be that let's see. Can you use some MOSFET board and use extra thermistor pin? I have a MOSFET board. It's kind of buried. Let me see if I can find it, but that might be a little bit of work. I could probably do that tomorrow, maybe. I'm not super confident in my using an external MOSFET. It makes me nervous because it's on a open board, but I'll do that tomorrow probably. Solenoid with power or water power. There's something in the firmware I can talk about it. I don't have the pump yet. I do have the actual thermistor for cooling, or excuse me, the print head for cooling. I just haven't ordered the water pump yet. I was a little afraid to do the water pump on the desk, because if it spilled while the board was there, you guys would see sparks everywhere. But let me look in the firmware and see if I can find the setting. So, let me bring you over there. Well, we're already there. Well, no, we're not there. Oh, we are. Sorry. I have to view where we are before I start talking. Let's see if there's something about a pump in here. We'll search on water. Nothing. So let's do pump. Liquid. So there's nothing in config.h about it. I know there is a way to do it. So I might have to actually read up on this, but let's try searching over in config. So there's liquid crystal display. That's displayed 6 times for liquid. So let's make sure it's display. So let's try water. And pump. So I'm not easily finding it, so let's go back over to advanced and do a search on cooling. So there's something about a cooling chamber, cooling fan, cooling fan. I think that's how to calibrate the fan, maybe. Yeah, PID scaling, cooling fans. So here are fans you can actually automatically turn on. So if you've got like a hot end that you want to automatically start, this probably isn't the place exactly where you would set it, but it does say extruders, so I'm sorry, it says extruder cooling fans. I'll read in a minute. Usually it takes me a second. Part cooling fan multiplexer. Probably not what we're looking for. So we might have to go to a forum to look up what's going on here. So tool change. This is probably for filament. Read through here. Pause, retract. Yeah, so I believe this is for filament. So let's search some more. So that's chambers. So it looks like we're not finding it. This might be something kind of special. So I'm going to go over to the browser and see if we can find information on this. So inside the browser, let's go over to RepRap Forum. Hopefully I remember the correct spelling of this. Granted, it's not hard to spell for me. So reprap.com. And there's probably a forum around here someplace, RepRap Forum. And then we'll go to the search. I might have to log in. I can't remember what it is. So let's see if we can find water cooling. First I gotta spell cooling correctly. Then you give it a second. And we'll see what we got here. So I'm going to search on water on this page. And it says, heated chambers seem like a recipe for disaster when it comes to cooling solutions. Water cooling is a good option. E3D has a water-cooled Titan. I actually have this, I just don't have the pump. Which probably also cool your extruder motor. If it doesn't, here's a company that makes a water cooling block specifically for 3D printing. If that's too expensive and it's rather expensive, then you can try this, which is higher temperature, I think is what they're about to say. So let's see. So they're not really talking about how to. If there's any comments here, it says 22 posts. It might require me to log in. I don't remember my password, so. So let's try this. So this looks like an ad for it. I'm just looking at to see if they have any directions on setting it up. Documentation. Assembly. There's a separate firmware, it looks like. So it brings us over to Marlin, hopefully. Apparently it's very old, the idea. So maybe we can pull down the other configuration, but let's see what we got here. Let me zoom in. So they're talking about extruders, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Apparently, that's not very helpful because I just showed you how to do this on Tuesday. But with the actual axis. So let's go back and we'll do a search on Google. We'll do a search for Marlin firmware water cooling. See if anybody knows. So cooling controls. So it looks like there's G codes for it. It looks like it might be specific for CNC, but you could probably use it for your printer. And it says turn mist coolant on, turn mist coolant, or turn flood coolant on, turn all coolant systems off. So at least we know the G codes. I can't find any links to it there, so let's go back. It's a different forum, I think. Search through here quick for water. Yeah, I don't see a lot of information yet on how to set it up. But I might have to research this if it is taking too long to find here. So I'll probably have to actually try this out off camera because I don't want to accidentally have an accident in front of you. But I'll have to research this because I don't know the answer. But I think it's just basically turning on a motor so it can pump or something to that effect. But it's creating a circuit and then letting the pump run. So let me see if there's any other questions that I might be able to answer today. UART. What do you want to know about UART? Because I just showed you UART about about 20 minutes ago. I've made several videos about it for live streams. I'm gonna post one of those for this board in particular, hopefully tomorrow. I just have to finish doing translations. Let me read through these. Let's see. Yeah, it's probably going to run off the fan pins, Mike. But I'm unsure. But, your steppers are very hot. You're running at 500 milliamps. What type of motors are you using? Are they NEMA 17 or something else? Because I think I can move this one all day long. Let me show you. Hopefully it won't get hot in my hand when I show you this. But I'm going to go over to Pronter Face. Hopefully you'll be able to see the camera when I do this. But the motor is just off camera on the top left. So let me see if I'm still plugged in. I am. So I'm going to home. Well, I'm going to connect first. Then I'm going to home. And then I'm going to place my hand on this. And I'm going to move 200. And home. And obviously this isn't going to get very hot right away. But right now it's ice cold. And I'm at 800 milliamps. So I'm not sure why there's excessive heat on your system. Could you tell me something about your system? Is it the same type of board that I'm working with? Because this is still ice cold. It is getting a little bit warmer, but still hasn't gotten hot. So let me try moving it without the actual homing. Yeah, I'm still not generating enough heat. It feels like it's around, I want to say 2 or 3 degrees centigrade right now. That's how cold it is. So I'm wondering about your motor or the tuning of your stepper might be slightly different. So let's see, we got NEMA 17. There's a number on your NEMA. Let me see if I can find one to show you an example of. So this is a NEMA stepper that I have. Normally they'll print a number on them right here, and that'll tell you something about your stepper in theory. So I believe this is 17HS19-200. Let's try and look it up and see what happens. So I'm gonna go over the browser and see if I can actually figure this out for my stepper, and then you can look up your own on that. So if I go to the browser and I type in NEMA 17 and then I put in this, hopefully this will work, 17H-19-204S, and then a 1. So what we're looking for is the data sheet for it, but it's telling us a little bit about it, hopefully. So here's the data sheet. There might be something important on this, but I believe the steppers that you're seeing on my axis are the same for the test fixture. So it talks about resistance, temperature, but it doesn't say much more than that. But you can find information about this that might help. I don't know all the stats on this, but this is the one I normally use. And it looks like there's not much derivable information from here. So do you have a number on the side of yours that we might be able to look up? Maybe there's something drastically different. Let me check in the chat. Well, there is a workaround that you can do for your stepper. You might be able to put a fan on it and cool it. And like German said, maybe you can add a heatsink. But it's kind of hard to diagnose. If I knew which type of stepper you're working with and which type of actual NEMA 17 with the number on it, we might be able to duplicate your setup over here and see what's causing the heat. Obviously, parts around the world are slightly different from where I can order them. But if you can get me the stats, I might be able to order your motor. And if you can get me your setup, so what kind of stepper you're using, what kind of board you're using, and tell me on Discord where that is, or post it on Discord. And Discord's in the description, but most of you already know that. I can try and take a closer look. Oh, so it's you think it's too small a motor, maybe? Okay, so it's a converted motor. On the side of the motor, is there any kind of writing on it that says like 17HS19? If you can find that information or find it on their webpage, I might be able to order that one part and check it. But we're getting towards 7 o'clock here, so just so everyone knows, for those that have been doing super chats, it's greatly appreciated. I also have a Discord channel, like I said a few seconds ago. That's where a lot of people communicate and share their information as to what they know that can help other people. So it's a good place to find information. And of course, I stop in there more often than I probably should. But I'm there usually every day for a couple minutes, checking on things. But at this moment, I need to finish some laundry. And tomorrow I'll be on at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And hopefully I'll have a MOSFET in front of me. I do want to start working on the BL Touch sometime this week or next week. I've created a form factor for it to test it. So I just have to hook it up and get it rolling. But for now, I want y'all to take care, be safe, and I'll see you when I see you. Thank you very much.